Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in, and before we get started I want to ask you two very quick questions. And the first one is this: how many of you have found that this year has been one hectic roller coaster of note? It's been super busy, super chaotic and super demanding on every single level. And if that is so, how many of you would find it very useful to have some kind of a cheat sheet of what you can expect as we go through the last couple of months of 2018 so that you can navigate with a little bit more ease? My name is Sue, and we are here because Venus is about to go retrograde. She goes retrograde on the 6th of October. And this is such an important phase that I wanted to record a few do's and don'ts so that we all have a heads up of how to navigate through the months ahead. The first thing you need to know is that from a numerological perspective, October resonates with a 12-3 energy. Now, 12-3 is the most creative energy. It is childlike. It dances with playfulness. It's creative. It's innocent. It's glorious in its joy and its spontaneity. But we also know that when we're talking about child energy, that it encompasses the wounded child, the invisible child, the abandoned child, the rejected child archetypal energy as well. And so as we go through October, you might find that old wounds are coming up from nowhere almost, and that you are being triggered by this energy. And if that is the case, I'm going to be talking about it a little later in this video, so stay tuned. But on a more core level, on a more intrinsic level, that 12-3 energy is all about action and consequence. You know, when we turn around and say that every action has an equal and opposite reaction, it has a result that comes from every action that we do. Well, this energy in October, it asks us to be specifically aware that before we even step into the dance of action, to become very, very aware of the sacred intention, and to be aware that where we are today is a result of our action or our non-action of yesterday. And that if we're trying to manifest anything, if we're trying to set goals, if we're trying to create something in our space, to be aware that it begins with the intention. It begins with the sacred intention. And it moves into conscious action. And so that the results that we have tomorrow are the results, are the consequences of the work that we have done today. And the work that we do today is directly impacted by the sacred intention that starts the whole process. The second thing that we need to be aware as we move through October is we've moved out of the shadow of Venus retrograde. There is always a shadow period before and after a Venus retrograde, and now we are in the full retrograde energy from now until we get to the 16th of November. If you haven't seen my video where I explain what it's all about, please just check below this video in the comments, because the info that I'm going to speak about in this short little video will make a whole lot more sense if you've managed to watch the video on the Venus retrograde as well. So just check below for the video link and you can hop onto that video as soon as we've finished here. We know that 2018 has been a year of immense karmic proportions, and we are finishing off this year of all years with a Venus retrograde. So from now literally until we get to the end of December, we're either in full retrograde or we're in the shadow period. So here is what you need to know. The first thing is that this is a time for release and recalibration of all those secret, unwanted, hidden emotions that come up in a relationship. like jealousy, like insecurity, like possessiveness, envy, obsessiveness. You know, all of those emotions that we would far rather deny that we have, or we would push them away and pretend they don't exist, or we would justify and blame on somebody else or something else. As Venus goes into her shadow, be prepared that some of these emotions might come tumbling up, and they might come up out of nowhere, almost leaving you a little bit breathless, a little bit off balance. And if we're not careful, igniting tempers, igniting anger, deep passion, and creating volatility in our relationships. So yes, that means that we might be primed for a few explosions and a few temper tantrums on the airwaves. If that happens, don't take any drastic actions. Don't make any huge decisions. Don't pack your bags and move out. If you find your relationship hitting a couple of bumps over the next couple of weeks, rather take a deep breath, rather explore those emotions within you, but don't step into hectic or drastic energy or actions until this Venus shadow has died down. So we don't want to make huge decisions about relationships, either getting into a long-term committed relationship or getting out of one while Venus is in her shadow period. That jealousy, that possessive thing, we know it's very common and it's very normal to want to swallow those energies down, to sweep them under the rug. But here's the thing, we all know that healing never comes from denial or repression of these critical emotions. And so if you find them coming up, this retrograde begs you, really allow these emotions to come up into the conscious light of day and find a space where you can explore them, you can examine them, you can excavate them, find somebody that you can speak to, that you can bring them into a space of consciousness and you can heal. And it might not seem like it because we've got all these really raw emotions coming up in a Venus retrograde, but actually when she does her retro dance, it's actually good for relationships because all sorts of unresolved things come up. All sorts of things that we've kind of hidden down and swallowed down, they start coming up. And you know, as they come up into the light of day, as we become more conscious of them, as we start to work with them, we might find that our relationships actually step into a space of healing. If you are in a space where deep emotions are not being triggered, you might find that you're feeling a little bit sexy. You might find there's a little bit more passion, there's a little bit more sexual energy going on, far more than you've had this year, which has been exhausting on every level. So as long as it's safe, as long as it's appropriate, and of course as long as it's consensual, have a blast. Let your hair down. Enjoy this rippling of sensual, sexual energy through all bodies of being, your physical body, your emotional body, your mental, spiritual body, and yes, absolutely through your financial body. Because money and all things material also come under the spotlight this Venus retrograde. We know that Venus is sensual, she's smoldering, she's sexy, she's the energy of abundance. And even in retrograde, she undulates with abundance. And so she's bringing in this abundant sensual energy into our space. Only you need to expect that it might come from a little bit of left field. It might come around in unexpected ways. So here's an example of a typical Venus retrograde and how it would affect your money or how it would affect your abundance. Last week I went on a conference and I'd booked my course a long time ago, you know, in June already. And I'd booked my travel and I'd booked my accommodation months in advance. So I arrived at the hotel last week, Wednesday, only to be told that my booking had somehow been cancelled and that the hotel was fully booked and they had no room for me. And I was completely flabbergasted. I will tell you, I was a whole lot annoyed. And after the annoyance had worn off, I was actually starting to get very, very worried because of the conference. The hotel was fully booked. Where was I going to stay? And after trying to figure out what on earth had happened, and the manager could see that I was beginning to get a little bit worried and a little bit panicked about what I was going to do, he turned around and he said, look, we don't have any rooms left at the grade that you booked at. The only room that we've got left in the entire hotel is the executive suite. Would that be okay if we gave you the executive suite at no extra charge? Would that help? Well, of course, I was delighted, but there I was in this space. I had booked my hotel. It had been taken away from me, and then I got upgraded at no extra charge to this plush, lush, executive penthouse suite. So that's Venus retrograde in action, bringing you abundance in a very roundabout way. So here I was expecting my single room and ended up in the executive suite. Now, because Venus is in retro, she's not going to be kind and gentle. She's going to be quite harsh and in your face, like me getting to the hotel and finding that my booking has now been cancelled. She's going to be quite demanding. She's going to be almost in your face about it. And what she's actually really saying is, damn it, will you receive already? Stop with all the barriers that are keeping you in poverty and lack. Allow yourself to receive. And if you cannot, then excavate what it is that's holding you back and sort it out once and for all. So for some of us, it might not be our relationships that are being triggered as we do this Venus retrograde. We actually might find that we're being triggered on our buttons of money, lack, abundance, poverty consciousness. And she's going to be in our face saying, damn it, will you get over this once and for all? Retrograde Venus is not kind and gentle. She's really, really in our face. I said to you at the beginning of this video that this month from a numerological energy resonates with the child energy, and that some of us might find that we've got unresolved trauma coming up, pain, unresolved pain, baggage from long ago, as the child wound and the mother wound kind of raises its head again and begs to be cleansed, to be released, to be healed and sealed once and for all. Now, if you're anything like me, you're probably tearing your hair out and saying, damn it, how many times? How many times? Enough already. How many times do I need to heal the inner child within? When does this end? When is it healed? And you know the answer as well as I do. It will come up as long as there is something to come up. It will come up until it's no longer there, until it's no longer triggered, until it's healed. And here it is in our space, this energy of the child, this energy of the feminine, this energy of the mother wound. So here's another don't for this Venus retrograde. You don't have to sit down and pull out the boxing gloves and bash out old family trauma and drama to heal generational pain. We can do it so very effectively from a space of deep soul release. We can work one-on-one together. So if you find yourself in a space where you are being triggered by yet another bout of family pain, get hold of me, because I promise you, I absolutely promise you, we can help you to find release and to find healing on it once and for all without hauling out the boxing gloves and going head to head with a family member and trying to sort it out. You can do it within your own soul space. So if it's coming up for you again, the do for this period is do something about it. Once and for all, do something about it and give yourself the gift of release and let it go. Lastly, Venus is all about social tribes. She is all about social structure. She thrives off connection, of relationships, of femininity, of familial groups, cohesiveness, of closeness. But of course, as she goes retro, that social structure and that social network is going to be humming and buzzing with a different kind of energy that some people might find destructive, some people might find completely disruptive. And so some of us are going to find that our social tribes, you know, our friends, our communities, the people we hang out with, that we have identity with, we might find that our social tribes are changing shape, they're changing tone, they're changing vibes, causing dissension, causing change. Now, it's a good thing. It might not feel like it, but it's a good thing, because we cannot evolve and grow if we stay in a comfort zone, if we stay in old paradigms and comfortable ways of thinking. And so the biggest gift of Venus retrograde, the biggest gift that she gives us, is that she's going to literally shake up those social structures, and she's going to yell at us, get out of the comfort zone of the old way of thinking. Challenge what you think, challenge what your values are, and challenge what you do with it. If you find yourself in a space where you're hanging out with people who no longer believe the same as you do, or you no longer resonate with the way they act and the way they believe, find yourself a new tribe. It's not easy, it's not comfortable, but this is one of the energies that we've got with this Venus retrograde. Because she starts in smoldering Scorpio, expect secrets to come bubbling up out of the darkness into plain sight. Because this is all about social reaction and social tribes, expect the tribe reaction to be strong, to be opinionated, to make strong decisions about secrets that are coming up. Expect that anything that is not balancing, that is not cohesive to that feminine energy, to women, to children, expect that that's going to be exploded up into the public eye, for secrets to be outed, maybe even for scandals to flare up, as Venus kind of excavates deep into the mud and the dirt where those secrets have lain out of sight. Again, not comfortable, but absolutely essential. And then because Venus then dances into Libra, which is all about fairness, it's also all about the discovery of truth, expect judgment, expect legal changes and challenges as she demands it's time for fairness and equality, that they get put firmly on the table once and for all. So some really big things that we can be expecting as we go into this Venus retrograde. So it's hectic. It absolutely is hectic. It's not quiet. Well, nothing about 2018 has been quiet, has it? So it's about challenging us at the very, very core about our values and our worth. So challenging, absolutely. Hectic, yes. Stressful, perhaps. Impacting on our relationships, impacting on our family, impacting on our inner child, on our money, on our sense of abundance, of what we allow ourselves to receive, on the tribal structure, and everything to do with sensuality. It's not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be shaking us up, but actually at the end of the day, it's going to be bloody brilliant, because if we couple it with that create and do energy of October, this is the energy of change within and change without and change within the community and the structure. Expect big things as we go through Venus retrograde towards the end of this year. You can bet it's going to be busy, so make sure you take your vitamins, make sure you fasten your seatbelt, and let's get going, and let's get the show on the road. Venus dances differently with each one of us, depending on our unique energy. So if you want to know, how is this going to impact on you? What is it going to do with you in your space? Get hold of me and we can do a deep dive into your energy blueprint, and we can see the Venus impact, the Venus retrograde impact in your life. Get hold of me. I'll put the link as well in the comments below. I hope you found this useful. It's a very quick what to expect as we go through this Venus retrograde. I've had a great time being with you. Have a fabulous month. Have a very energetic, busy month. Don't forget the vitamins, and I'll be back with you soon. Bye for now. God bless.